Hi everybody, this is Professor Miller. Just wanted to give you a quick introduction to the course and an overview of the course syllabus. So first of all, welcome to Pharmacology, Nursing 3041. It was also known as Nursing 308 previously, and you might still see that on your plan of study. I'm looking forward to a great semester, and I just wanted to get you kind of acclimated to the course a little bit. So if you go down, obviously you'll see announcements, internal email, a student chat room, general student forum. These are all links that you can use throughout the course. The announcements, you'll find that they're linked to your email. So sometimes when I send an announcement, it'll actually be sent to your regular OU email account. And that'll just be general course updates. Sometimes I'll go over questions or quizzes. And a lot of that I will post in the announcement forum. The course syllabus is actually under the course resource section. If you click on the folder, you will find Part A of the syllabus and Part B. Part A of the syllabus is more general to the School of Nursing, and I'll go ahead and open that Part A. So in Part A, you'll find general information with course hours, the amount of credits. Obviously, it shows that it's an online course and the timing that it runs. It also has my information on here as well as Part B too. In terms of office hours, they're by appointment, and we can meet in person or we can also meet through WebEx. WebEx is very easy to use, and I do use it throughout the course. Sometimes we'll do reviews, or if anybody needs help, I'm more than willing to meet with you or meet through WebEx as well. In terms of course email, I would prefer that you use the internal email option through our course, because I do get a lot of emails through my regular OU email account, and I don't want anything to get kind of lost in the way. So please email me through the internal email. If it's something urgent and you do need to get a hold of me quicker, you can email my regular email account at crmiller23@oakland.edu. I'm completely fine with that. It's just easier to keep it organized by course. Prerequisites, you have your pathophysiology that you all recently took. That definitely helps with this course as well. I'll let you kind of take a look through the course overview. You can read that, the objectives. And I kind of have a lot of this within Part B as well, so I'll let you read through this. And these are just general technical requirements that are recommended through the School of Nursing. We all use Moodle, and I'm sure you're pretty familiar with it by now, because we use Moodle even for the on-campus courses as well. In terms of SurePath, I did want to mention that's the external tool that we use throughout the course. I did find that it's a lot easier if you use Google Chrome or Firefox. A lot of times the web browser, it just seems to respond better with those versus like Safari if you have an Apple. And you're better off using a desktop versus an iPad or your phone. And this is just general information on how to log on to Moodle. And other information too as professionalism expectations, ATI requirements, which we'll talk about that as we kind of move through the course. And I'll talk about that in Part B as well. At the end of the semester, there is a survey that you can do for teaching effectiveness, and I also do course surveys at the midterm timing, and I also do them at the final, just to kind of help gauge how everything's going, if there's something I can change. I'm always open to feedback, and I enjoy your feedback, so if there's something that I can do to change or to help, please let me know. This is just in terms of emergencies. A lot of this is more related to on-campus meetings, so you can kind of review that on your own as well. The course grading scale is actually in Part A of the course syllabus. This is determined by the School of Nursing, so this is the grading scale that we do follow for every School of Nursing course. A 70% is equal to a 2.5, and there are requirements in terms of receiving at least a 70% in order to pass the course. So going back to Part B of the syllabus, you can obviously click on Part B, and we will take a look at Part B of the syllabus. So this is more related to the course. I'm sure you probably already know that already through other courses as well. Once again, I have my office location. It's at 2031 Human Health Building. As I mentioned before, I'm definitely open to office hours. We can meet through WebEx. So just obviously email me and we can set something up if you need any further help. And as I mentioned before, you can email me through my OU account if it's something urgent. So course description explores essential pharmacologic principles and pharmacologic actions of major drug classifications, and it gives you that foundation for nursing management during drug therapy. So throughout the course, we're going to cover major drug classes and specific drug prototypes in relation to certain physiologic systems. So we kind of go through a systematic process of going through cardiac, neuro, endocrine, etc. So we'll kind of move through systems, and then we also pull out major drug classes with select drug prototypes that fall underneath them. If you take a look, I have a link on our course page about pharmacology study tips. It's really important, and it's a great tool to kind of look at and how to approach pharmacology, because it's much more effective to study pharmacology in a certain manner versus trying to memorize every single drug. That's not how you're going to learn it. You really truly need to learn it by major drug classes and then be able to recognize what fits into those classes, and it'll kind of all fall into place a little bit easier if you go through it that route. And I'll post a video quickly about pharmacology study tips as well. So when we look at these major drug classes, we also look at the integration of core patient variables, and then application of the nursing process, and the nursing approach essentially to drug therapy across the lifespan. So this is a foundational course for your future nursing courses, and it's an integral part of your professional nursing practice. Pharmacology is a very hard course. It's a lot of information. You will get there. Everybody gets there. It takes time. I'm not gonna lie. It does take time to get a full grasp on pharmacology, and a lot of times it really truly takes your further nursing courses, being in the clinical site, and it'll all kind of sink in, but it really truly takes time. So don't be frustrated if you're finding that it's hard to remember all this or worried about it. That's very, very normal. So in terms of course objectives, so obviously we're going to define basic pharmacological principles across the lifespan, meaning from birth, pregnancy, to the elderly, understanding the mechanism of action of major drug classes in relation to normal physiologic and pathophysiologic states. That's the other important thing I find with pharmacology too, is linking it up to physiology. Don't study it as a separate entity. Have it linked with your patho and your physiology. So if you have to review those areas, on areas that you feel like you need more a refresher on, it's probably a good idea to kind of review that and then go through the drugs right after you do that. It does seem to help put it in perspective a lot easier. So define essential components of pharmacotherapeutics, associated nursing interventions that support safe, effective, and evidence-based care. So linking that pharmacology up to nursing essentially. Utilizing the nursing process, which I'll try to kind of go through too, because I know a lot of that is new to you, especially with the accelerated second degree students. Many of you have not had any nursing classes yet. So that's a new concept that is introduced throughout the semester as well. Explaining the rationale for specific drug selections, as well as proper dosage, route, and administration. And obviously for further minimizing adverse events and maximizing therapeutic effects. So we'll go through this as we go through each drug classification. In terms of prerequisites, I kind of mentioned this before. Your A&P course, and then your general pathophysiology, which was 227 previously. As I mentioned, to have that understanding of pharmacology, including the mechanism of action and the therapeutic uses, you really have to rely on your previous knowledge of basic anatomy and normal physiology. Pharmacology, and you'll find this, and especially as you go through that first module, you'll see this, what I'm basically saying. A lot of it is based on our normal physiology, and a lot of these drugs work on our physiology or pathophysiologic states. So it's really tied together. It's very important to have that understanding there. So essentially, pathophysiology serves as that building block for this course. In terms of the required textbook, the textbook is Lean's Pharmacology for Nursing Care, the 9th edition. You can find this at the OU bookstore online, or you can also, I'll describe it in a moment, in terms of purchasing it through a separate, seller. We also use SurePath for pharmacology. It's actually an adaptive learning platform that supplements the textbook. It's a great resource. It does have a lot of lesson plans that coordinate with the textbook readings. So both SurePath for pharmacology and the textbook are required for the course. You can purchase either a hard copy of the book or an ebook with access to SurePath. If you go through the OU bookstore, you can go online, and if you look up our course, you will find listings of the ISBN for both, just the SurePath section, with the access card for SurePath, And you also find a combined package for both SurePath and the textbook. The combined package or bundle is at a reduced cost, so if you don't already have the book, or if you're not renting the book or purchasing it elsewhere, you're usually better off getting that bundled package. And I have both of them listed here. This is for SurePath Pharmacology with access to the book. So this is the bundled package right here. If you already have the text, or you're renting it, or you purchased a used edition, and all you need to do is get that SurePath portion or the access to the learning management system, I actually recommend that you still go through the OU bookstore, because they're both listed in there, and the ISBN for that, just the access card is right here. And I actually have a note up on the OU bookstore website as well, clarifying which ISBN is for which. I've had students mention that going through the Elsevier website was a little confusing, so you're probably better off taking the route of going through the OU bookstore. Once you do get access to SurePath actually is incorporated within our course Moodle site. So you're not going to go to Evolve or Elsevier. You're going to actually go to our course Moodle site, and there will be that little puzzle icon under the SurePath resources, and that's what you click on to get to SurePath. And I'll run through that too. I'll put a video up about going over SurePath essentially. In terms of recommended references for the text, it's not essential for this course, but as you move through clinical rotations, it's always important to have some sort of application with you, whether it's through your phone, a mobile application or an app, or you actually have a book with you. Some students actually have inquired about books. I have Davis's Drug Guide book. It's like a small little manual. It's pretty big. It's hard to carry around, but you could put it in a bag. And the good thing with that one is it gives you like IV compatibility. It gives you a lot of more of that nursing care, or that RN care that you would give in terms of IVs and what it interacts with. So it's not only just giving you a description of the drug or side effects, it's giving you more of that nursing perspective behind it. Another great tool, or tools I should say, that are great, and they might be a little bit more than what you need. Epocrates is great. That's something that I've personally used in the back previously as a nurse practitioner. It doesn't give you that IV compatibility, so it's not going to give you that specific nursing, because it's more of a medical app essentially. Dynamed's another one. I'm not that familiar with it, but it's out there. UpToDate is a great one. It's definitely probably more than what you need, because UpToDate actually goes over labs, it goes over diagnosis. It's a great reference tool. And actually UpToDate in Epocrates is available through the OU library system. A lot of students don't notice, aren't informed of this, but if you go through the OU library system, and I believe it's under the medical library, but you can gain access to these resources. UpToDate's great. Like I said, though, it might be a little bit more than what you need. But for the course specifically, really all you need at this point is the textbook and SurePath. In terms of course format, it's an online format, so the course is fully online except for the ATI exam, which I'll go over in a few. It's asynchronous, meaning that we all, we're not going to be on at the same time. We may or may not be, but you're participating in asynchronous activities. So we'll have online discussions, web assignments, quizzes, and I'll kind of go through that. I'll put a video up about going over the first module and kind of giving you the order of how to proceed and go through the content, just to kind of get you acclimated. So rules of netiquette, obviously, this is kind of across the board with any online course, or any course in particular. It's an open exchange of ideas, so at all times it's very important to feel free to express yourselves and have your views respected. So you can kind of take a look at this as well. In terms of using Moodle, if you're unfamiliar with Moodle, there are some great resources on the Oakland University's Learning Management System site. They have that eList site. You can go there, and it'll give you a general overview on how to use Moodle, participating in online activities, and how to go through the course. Not specifically this course, but how to kind of use Moodle. So if you are unfamiliar, I encourage you to visit that just to get acclimated with Moodle. Another thing, too, that I wanted to mention before moving on is the use of WebEx. As I mentioned, I will use WebEx to go through reviews, or if someone wants to meet, I'm more than happy to meet and help you with anything that you need. So WebEx is actually a really, really easy tool to use. Usually you have to have the instructor set up a WebEx meeting on there, but literally all you do is you click and you log in, and it'll link you with the class if you haven't already used WebEx at some point. But It gives you that real-time discussion, and you can share screens. So it's a great tool that I do use throughout the course. In terms of course requirements, late assignments and missing assignments, like I mentioned, a lot of it is asynchronous, and I do try to keep the course flexible. I do understand that you have other courses, that you have a job, that you have family. I mean, I understand life, essentially. But with the flexibility, I also do give you a pretty good amount of time to make sure your assignments are turned in. And really, there's a few assignments that I'll go through as we go through the module video as well. But if it is late, for instance, if we have a discussion, it'll be marked down by 10% of your grade for every day that the assignment is late. So you can go ahead and read through that. In order to participate in this course, you need obviously computer access, you need internet connection, in your web browser. As I mentioned before, smartphones and tablets are typically not recommended for the course. You're better off using a desktop or your laptop. This is something always to be conscious or aware of too. If you're going to take a quiz, make sure that you have good access to internet. If you do have a problem, obviously notify me, but you want to be careful with where you're taking your quiz, because you can't restart them a lot of times. So in terms of technical skills, you can kind of read this. You have to have a moderate level of computer proficiency. These are some just general information you can review. In terms of course evaluation, there's a variety of assignments that we have throughout the course. We have case studies, discussion questions. Those are pretty much the same thing. The discussions end up being based on a case study. We have quizzes, which are essentially weekly, but typically not due till the end of the module. And then there's also exams. The exams there's two exams. One is at midterm and one is at final. They are non-cumulative, so whatever is on exam, the first midterm exam is for the first 6 weeks, and then week 7 and forward are on your final exam. All exams, all quizzes, those are online through Moodle. With the exams, they are application type or critical thinking type questions, and you'll kind of get practice as you go through some of the quizzes, because the quiz questions are very similar to what you'll find on both NCLEX and the midterm and final exam. In that document too, with pharmacology study tips, I actually go through a little bit, or I touch briefly on this with these types of questions and kind of how to approach them. I also do try to integrate some of these questions throughout some of the lectures that I post, so that way I kind of run through them with you to kind of get that thought process there, and kind of how to take a look at these questions and how to answer them essentially. Frequent quizzes are integrated within the course, and it's not only to assess your strengths and weaknesses, but it's also to facilitate higher level learning. The quizzes are mandatory. They're supposed to be completed within a lot of time frame. They will be open from the beginning of the module to the end of the module when it closes. So at any point during that 2-week period, you can take the quizzes. If you want to stay on track with going, doing your first week section and you want to get your quiz for that week done, you can go do it that way. Or you can go through all the material and then do both quizzes at the very end of the module. There is a lot of content in this course. It just kind of depends on how you want to move through the content. And, some want to do it where they stay on that weekly basis just to kind of keep them on track. In terms of assignments, like I mentioned, there's going to be case study discussions, and those are, there's usually one of them within the course module. And take a look at them and open them up and look at the dates when you open up the module, because I will have the dates specific to that. Everything else in terms of SurePath lessons or your quizzes, those are all due at the end of the module. But the discussion forums are actually due earlier because you have to have time in order to respond to your peers. So take a look at dates essentially. The SurePath lessons, as I mentioned, I open all the SurePath lessons that coordinate with the course content, so you'll find multiple lessons in there. In terms of the course assignment portion, I only require you to do 2 of them from each section, or you can do, actually, it equates to 4 per module. My suggestion with this is to first go through materials, go through lectures, your readings, etc., and then go through SurePath lessons and cover the lessons that you feel like you need further development with or more reinforcement with. Some students do all of them. Some find it very helpful, and that's the way they like to study. Some students just do a few of them. It kind of depends on how you study, so you kind of have to see what works best for you. So as I mentioned, each SurePath lesson is worth 10 points. It's pass-fail, so if you complete the lesson, you get the full 10 points. So for each module, you'll end up with 40 points if you complete all 4. And as I mentioned before, there's much more that you can kind of go through depending on what you feel you'd personally need. In terms of the ATI exam, we'll discuss this as the course kind of moves through. This is an ATI exam is required by the School of Nursing. ATI exams are integrated within specific nursing courses, with pharmacology being one of them. So ATI exams, they typically take place like after week 11 or week 12, but no later than that. It's usually right around that time. This test we have to meet on campus, and I have the date within the course calendar already in the time. It's not a very long test, but we'll kind of talk about this as the semester progresses, and I'll cover it a little bit more. Prior to the ATI exam, you'll have access to 2 practice exams. And they're very similar to the ATI test that you'll take in person when we meet on campus. These 2 practice exams are online. Just completing both practice exams will compose part of your final grade. So 3% is given for the final ATI exam, and then 2% is given for both practice tests. Each practice test is 1%. So just completing them, you'll get that 5% towards your grade for both practice tests and then the final ATI. We'll kind of go through this as we progress, like I mentioned. A lot of students have questions about the ATI because a lot of you haven't been integrated within the actual nursing program with an ATI account and all that. So we'll talk about that as we move through. Academic conduct and professionalism, you can read through this. This is kind of general stuff that is recommended through the School of Nursing. It discusses plagiarism, APA citing, and just kind of looking at it too. All exams, quizzes, these are not open book tests. I know they're online, but they should not be open book. You want to essentially learn this material and be able to recall it without having to look it up. So there's no test taking in groups. It's all individual effort, and you should not be using your textbook or other notes for your exams or your quizzes. The add drop policy, you'll find this through the Oakland University site. You have to follow this if you find that you're not progressing through the course, or it's for some reason that you need to drop. So make sure that you're aware of dates and deadlines there. In terms of special considerations, there is the Department of Disability Support and the numbers here. So that's for academic help. There's Academic Skills and Tutoring Center, and the phone number is listed there as well. As I mentioned with Part A, there is the faculty and course evaluation. So you'll have the opportunity to evaluate this course and faculty towards the end of the semester. And if you could please take the time to do it, it definitely helps because that's how I gauge on what to change or what's working, what's not working. And as I mentioned before, I do integrate them within our course. So I would greatly appreciate it if you did, do the course evaluations. In terms of instructor and student expectations, like I mentioned, stay caught up with the reviews, the lectures, the videos, the assignments. You're probably better off continuing with a weekly basis. It's something that you cannot cram. You can't wait till the end of the module to start reading. I definitely wouldn't do that because it's a lot of information. Make sure you ask for help. I'm here to help you whenever you need it. Email me. We'll meet. We'll do WebEx, whatever you feel that you need. I try to respond to emails always within 24 to 48 hours. I'm usually really good about it. Like I mentioned, if the internal email you don't get a quick response and you need something, go ahead and email my regular OU email account. I try to get your grades back fairly quickly. The quizzes, which I'll kind of go through as we go through the modules, I do have the quizzes open after they actually close for that module. So after it closes, I always recommend to students to go back and actually review their quiz because I actually will put why the answer is what it is and kind of give you more of a background on the question and kind of clarify why the answer is what it is. So I do always recommend make sure you go back, review your quizzes from previous weeks. And if you have further questions or you still need further help, please let me know with that as well. In terms of online courses as well, it's important to log on and make sure you check Moodle very frequently because I do give a lot of course updates. If you can log on every day, if not at least every other day, just to make sure that you're staying up to date. These are some general tips for online courses. You can kind of take a look at that as well. There's a WebEx support number right here, so if you're having difficulty with WebEx, and there's also eList here too, they can kind of help you if you're having a problem. For instance, like if you're having issues getting WebEx up, these are 2 numbers that you can give a call, and they definitely would try helping you out. So this is the course schedule. It's actually a tentative schedule, but it's pretty much laid out exactly as I have it here. But I always tell students to make sure that you go back through Moodle and make sure that the dates are actually what is listed on here. So always check Moodle and look at the assignment dates on there. So the first week is general introduction to pharmacology, and then drug therapy across the lifespan, and then the second part is therapy for drug therapy for the nervous system. I do try to put the assignments listed here. So as I mentioned, I have it sectioned out into modules. There's content for each section, so there will be content on this week. There'll be content on this week. So it's kind of up to you and how you want to take the approach here. You can either do it weekly and stay on that weekly track, or you can take the quiz later in the module. But like I said, there's a lot of content, so you do want to make sure you stay on track with dates and all that. So this is just the general calendar. Week 7 is our midterm exam. That's online. And usually I'll have the exam open all day so that I know, some students work or they have a different schedule. So it'll have an allotted time frame, but it also will be open for an extended period. So that way you can take the exam either in the morning or later in the afternoon or evening. And I'll give you more information as we approach that as well. So same thing, the ATI exam, as I mentioned before, it's on Monday, November 20th from 9:30 to 11:30. I don't have the room yet, but when I do receive that, I will give you more information on this as well. And as I mentioned before, we'll go through stuff about the ATI as we progress through the course. And then we have Thanksgiving break, and then Module 6, and then your study day, and then our final exam, once again online from weeks 8 through 13. And that is scheduled for the 13th of December, online as well. So after we review the course syllabus, go back through our course Moodle site, and then I will have a video going over the first module and kind of how to approach the content and go from there. And I'm looking forward to working with everybody, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate contacting me. Thank you, and have a great day.